Today we're going to talk about Richard Hart, the founder of Pulse Chain, founder of Hex, founder of PulseX, and how he compares to other founders and other people in the space. Just go over a couple examples really quick, just to let you know how Pulse Chain and Hex are really different. And Richard gets a lot of heat. Richard really does get a lot of heat from people that don't have any idea what they're talking about. We've gone through so many rounds of FUD that are basically just made up stories. Richard's going to steal all the ETH. Richard's going to dump all the Hex. The big payday, no one's going to buy it ever again. Pulse Chain's never going to launch. It's going to be vaporware. No one's going to use it. He's going to go to jail. It's like everything has been proven wrong over and over and over again. I want to point out, shout out to Matty Allen here. Matty Allen looked up Arkham Intel. He looked up some Arkham Intel analytics, and he found that Richard Hart Wynn is better than any other top 20 founder, IMO, because he's never sold a single token in 1,500 days. Now, that's actually a true fact, and you can look up these on-chain analytics right here. Look at this nice big flowery dandelion of not selling. This whole dandelion right here that you see, Richard himself is, or whoever owns the origin address, because it might be a group of people, might be someone acquainted. A lot of people think it's him. I don't really care. But look at this little flower over here. Nobody has blown any of these little flowery things off the dandelion, meaning Richard Hart has not sold anything. Okay, so you just see this cluster of all the funds tied to the origin address, and this is basically your audit. Okay, this is basically, long story short, okay, you want to see if the guy sold anything, which wouldn't be the craziest story in the world, because it seems like every other founder of every single other cryptocurrency, Justin Sun, Brad Garlic Breath, Dan Larimer, Charlie Lee, everybody else sells, and somehow it's okay for them to sell. And what makes it okay for them to sell and not for Richard to sell? It's a double standard. Don't you see what's going on? We're going to go into some individual people and talk about proof of them selling and just show you the double standard that occurs. So I want you guys to remember this as we go over some of the mainstream guys, some of the main characters. Richard, of course, is a main character, but I'll tell you why he's actually a founder worth having some respect for versus some of these other guys out here that have just completely abandoned their projects or serial dumpers every single month. Let me show you what's really going on over here. So remember, guys, this picture right here, this is an on-chain visualization of the whole where did the ETH go thing. You could see where the ETH went. Didn't seem to go very far in the majority of cases, all right? Didn't seem to go very far at all. But now it shouldn't be abnormal for a founder or a foundation or whatever to one day have to sell some coins to pay for things like networking or infrastructure or important long-term viability of the project. Exchange listings, stuff like that. You would think that the founder would be able to get away with selling a little bit to make markets to increase, the adoption of their cryptocurrency. But for some reason, the rules only apply to Richard and everybody else gets a free pass. So let's talk about the Litecoin founder, okay? Because this guy he's easy to pick on. Charlie Lee. Look, he's just a developer. He's just a normal guy. No hate towards Charlie Lee, but what do you notice down here at the bottom of his Wikipedia page in December 2017? This was 6 years after Litecoin was created, by the way. He announced on Reddit, Charlie Lee, the founder of Litecoin, all right, that he sold almost all his Litecoin holdings due to a perceived conflict of interest. So he's saying, look, everyone's getting mad at me. Everyone's getting pissed off at me because they're accusing of everything I do for being personal benefit. If I tweet something that's bullish and it's good for the price, then everyone's going to think, oh, well, I'm just saying bullish things because I want the price to go up. It's a hard play. You think about it from his perspective. He literally can't get away with anything. So it's like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. You know what I mean? If he's got bad news, people are going to accuse him of like shorting Litecoin, even though he claims it's all garbage. And, we don't know. We don't know. I mean, he might have done some things in good faith and maybe some questionable things. We have no idea. But he just decided to one day sell all of his Litecoin. And he's not going to tell you how many he sold, of course. He's not going to tell you any of the details. All he can tell you is that it was a small percentage of the daily volume and it did not crash the market. Seems weird that the Litecoin founder wouldn't have enough Litecoin to crash the market. That seems a little weird, but let's just take his word for it, okay? I mean, look what he says right here. He's like, Litecoin has been very good for me financially. So I am well off enough that I no longer need to tie my financial success to Litecoin success. For the first time in 6 years, I no longer own a single Litecoin. Doesn't that kind of seem a little weird to you guys? I mean, have you heard of this concept of skin in the game? Like, have you heard of the concept of when your founder owns a coin? Nevertheless, when your founder buys a coin, by the way, the origin address was lately seen buying, Hex, Pulse Chain, PulseX, or someone connected to the origin address. Companies do stock buybacks because they're bullish on the future of their stock, right? They want to make the price go up. They want to increase value for shareholders. Why wouldn't somebody like their own thing and want to buy more of it? This is exactly what happened in Hex, Pulse Chain, PulseX, so we think, allegedly. An origin address related entity was seen buying their own coins. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Whereas every other founder just seems to dump because of conflict of interest, right? And so I get it. This guy's probably getting beat up every single day on social media because again, he just can't win. He says even in the update, as you could see, some people even think I'm pumping B cash for my personal benefit. Seems like I just can't win. Womp womp. Yeah, you really can't win on the internet. Okay, like you can't please everyone all the time. Poor little Charlie Lee's getting bullied about Litecoin because he is the founder, and so whatever anyone does as a founder, anybody important, they're going to criticize every single thing you do. But I guess he couldn't take it, and of course, there's probably some aspects of Charlie Lee personally of, look, I put in my 6 years' time. I made a generic fork of Bitcoin. What more do you guys want from me? And by the way, Charlie had all these plans of Litecoin anonymity and all these things coming to Litecoin that really haven't gone anywhere. He soddled for our sins. I just noticed this. He soddled for our sins. That's what the post is called. I've never heard soddle before. I've heard hodl. I've never heard soddle. So he said he's not quitting Litecoin. Don't worry. And history was not great to this post, right? Because I don't think he's done much. Like, what has Litecoin done? I'm picking on Litecoin a lot because I can, because nobody even cares really about Litecoin anymore. All right. It's just one of those coins that's always around, but nobody's really banking on it to have life-changing pumps anymore, especially with Charlie Lee not having any skin in the game. He says it's because I don't want to get bullied online. Yeah, I don't want people that can make up conspiracy theories about me. But what he does, it's not congruent with the actions you would want a founder to have. In my humble opinion, I would like my founder to like his own coins. And I would also understand if my founder or whoever, if I was a founder, right, I would understand the need to sell some of the coins, but not enough to hurt the price. Not my whole entire stack. I would understand the need to periodically sell chunks, to be a market maker, or to provide marketing, or to hire developers. Just expenses that you need to actually pay people, right? There's creative ways of not selling to, taking out loans, there's all kinds of creative ways to get out of having to dump the price on the market, okay? Charlie Lee, this is his story. He spent 6 years in crypto. He made life-changing money. He claims he's well off enough that he does not need to tie his financial success to Litecoin success. This is kind of the funniest line because it's like, all your success was from Litecoin success. So now, of course, you no longer need to tie it. That means you're selling. That means you just don't care. Look, it'd be really easy for me to believe that. I'm sure Litecoin will always have a special place in Mr. Charlie Lee's heart, but you can't really expect a guy that doesn't own any of his own coin to really put 100% effort in all day, every day. And then this was, 7 years ago, 2017? So history has actually proven this to be true, When you have skin in the game, you behave differently. When incentives overlap, when incentives align. See, everybody's greedy, acting in their own self-interest, but when all the self-interests of every human overlaps into one self-interest, like, hey, we all want more freedom, hey, we all like mad gains. That's what Richard's in it for, that's what I'm in it for. That's what probably most of you watching are in crypto for. It's pretty generic, pretty awesome, right? We don't want anyone to tell us what to do with our money. And we want 100x, maybe 1000x's. We want long-term stores of value that can beat, inflation. Our purchasing power is being stolen from us every day. And we like to be able to take our money and buy whatever we want and not be told what to do, right? Ripple's another one. Ripple's another famous Ripple case. You might have heard the Ripple news. Ripple was hacked. Oh, Ripple was not hacked. They made the circuits. They paid off all the, the mainstream crypto media to say that they weren't hacked. Ripple was not hacked, but its co-founder was. It's such a funny headline to me because it's like, don't worry, Ripple's fine. It's just that the Ripple founder, who literally is Ripple, the Ripple co-founder, who owned part of Ripple, is he not Ripple? Like, what is Ripple then? Ripple's just a concept. It's an idea. If it's not people, then I guess if Ripple is just this word Ripple, then yeah, no one can ever hack the word Ripple, the concept of Ripple. So they're trying to say, no, it wasn't Ripple. It was just his founder who owned $112 million of XRP. It was just the founder who mistakenly, didn't put I don't know what he did. He didn't put two-factor authentication on or something. He was able to freeze the affected addresses. This is funny too. How's that for your decentralized crypto there? I don't like my cryptos with the ability to be frozen, but he was able to catch the problem quickly and freeze some accounts. Now look, some of the money's probably already been laundered, so some of that is probably going to get dumped on your heads. But the Ripple community is used to being dumped on, aren't they? So they shouldn't really care too much about this because they get dumped on quarterly, monthly, just as a operation of business. Okay, look it over here. This is theblock.co, and you can see here all the this is quarterly dumps. Quarterly Ripple dumping on your heads. Look, Ripple community members, I don't want to crap on your coin too much, but I'm not the one doing it. I'm not the one pooping all over your coin. It's literally this Larson dude and maybe his other guy, Brad Garlinghouse, Mr. Garlic Breath. Ripple was not hacked. It wasn't Ripple, but look, if his co-founder was hacked, the co-founder of Ripple is hacked. To me, that means Ripple's hacked. All right. I don't care how you want to mince the words around, but that's not a good look. All right. And on top of that, right, I'm sorry, Ripple community, but this is what you guys have to deal with a lot of the times. Every quarter, $169 million in sell pressure, $250 million sell pressure. They didn't sell a lot in 2020, but then look, 32 million sell pressure, 76 million, 150 million, 157 million, 491 million, almost $1 billion in one quarter being sold. And look, even in the bear market, they were dumping. They were dumping pretty heavy in the bear market. Q4 2022, they sold $250 million on retail. And you can say, oh, well, they get to sell it at a discounted price. And it doesn't matter. It's the concept of, first of all, I don't like my crypto to be fake crypto. I like it to be really decentralized, not with a building full of people to pay. Second of all, I like not getting dumped on as an order of business. Like, this is what these guys have to do to pay their building full of people. They got a payroll. They got to pay for the Christmas party. All right. Who's going to take the trip to Cancun? If Mr. Garlic House, Breath guy, needs to sell, if he can't sell $400 million, then who's going to get their bonuses this year? Now with Hex, Pulse Chain, PulseX, that doesn't exist. People think there's a Pulse Chain Incorporated. People think I wake up every day, I get in my car, I drive to my job at the Pulse Chain factory, and I go and I make some Pulse Chains, and I go sell them to all the good little boys and girls. That's not how any of this works. That's not how real crypto is supposed to work. So look, on top of XRP getting hacked, on top of the fact that they won their court case, yeah, good for them, but the price didn't seem to care. Price is right back down. People have been holding for 10 years with not much to show for it. Really almost nothing to show for it. So it's a sad story for Ripple, but it's not too late to leave the sinking ship. All right, to leave the sinking ship. And we've just got articles all over the place. It's a well-known fact that Ripple sells all the time. And they're legally expected and allowed to do so. Ripple sold $336 million worth of tokens in Q1. And yep, this is just proving that this is up from 226 million the previous quarter. They have to put out their quarterly reports and they have to say, look, Ripple Labs, we sell XRP. And these poor little retail guys, I don't know how they get talked into buying it. Look, it's not too late. All right, it's not too late. I'm just showing you the example of what a good dynamic of a good founder would be versus this. This is like maximum selling. Okay, I do believe there is a way to do selling in a tasteful way where, let's say you've got like the Ethereum Foundation and they want to fund developer grants. I think there's a way to sell tiny amounts of Ethereum to pay developers to add even more values to get an ROI on whatever you're selling to make the ecosystem bigger. But that's not what I think is happening here. I don't think that Ripple has been getting $200 million worth of value, $200 million worth of quarterly improvements to their protocol. I don't think that's what's happening at all. I think there's a lot of bloat, there's a lot of fluff, and it's just a lot of, the same old white collar kind of companies that I used to work for. There's a lot of bullshit jobs out there. There's a lot of jobs out there that don't need to be there, that people kind of just waste time. They work for 2 hours a day and they scroll Twitter the other 6 hours. This is a real thing. There's a book out there called Bullshit Jobs. You should read it. We've got a different problem with other founders that just leave, okay? We've got Dan Larimer. He's a serial leaver, abandoner of projects, okay? Dan Larimer left Block One. This was the company that built EOS, by the way, EOS, back in 2017. He also left BitShares, which he founded in 2015, and Steemit, which he left in 2017. So this guy can't seem to stick to something for very long. He spends 2 years at BitShares, 2 years at Steem, 2 years at EOS. He doesn't seem to really like to stick around too much. We've got an article here, Dan Larimer, the man who can't sit still. He can't sit still. Everything's in a state of flux. Now, that's fine. I'm not saying he's a bad, evil guy. Like, this guy doesn't look evil to me, all right? That's all I'm going to say. He doesn't look evil. But Mr. Dan, Mr. Larimer, he can't seem to keep his eye on the ball for a long period of time. Now, we've got Richard Hart over here that has not left in 4+ years, okay? Now, he hasn't done a live stream in over a year, and everyone's freaking out about that, but he hasn't left Twitter. He hasn't stopped building. He hasn't stopped fighting the SEC. He's been actively fighting the SEC right now for your rights, for freedom of speech, real DeFi. So I like guys like that. I'd rather go with whatever Richard built than some guy that I think is just going to leave in 2 years. So this is not an example of anybody selling the coins, but just other founder activity that it's become so normalized in the space. It's become so like no one bats an eye. oh yeah, if Dan Larimer left another project tomorrow, people would be like, yeah, that's just good old Danny boy. That's what he does. People would be like, okay with that. Here's the Curve. This was in the news the other day. It was like a long time ago. Curve Finance CEO spends $41 million on a new Melbourne mansion. Okay. 43 million bucks, kind of a lot of money. And this was from some complicated strategy where he defaulted on some loans or something using his own protocol. Look, if you developed a protocol that's multi-million dollars, it's okay to take some profit probably. You probably deserve, a new mansion. But like the question becomes, it's like people are always, and I guess I'm doing the same thing right now. People are always speculating of, well, how much does he really deserve? Right? How much is he really? Like, this man can do whatever he wants with his money. But he's out here, dumping his coins or getting rid of his own coins and buying this mansion, which is a very nice mansion, by the way. Look at this thing. Very, very nice. Lovely $41 million mansion. But that money came from, Curve, the protocol that he built. Look at this guy. He's look at how happy this guy is. I'd be happy too. I would be smiling from ear to ear if I had this mansion, which I don't, but maybe one day. Maybe one day, guys. And it's like to each their own, right? Everybody can do whatever they want with their money. But this is just such a common thing for people to do. It's like you make a bunch of money. If Richard Hart did this, if Richard Hart just bought a new mega mansion and published it on the news, maybe he did, but he likes to keep it low key. Mr. Hart likes to, people not knowing where he is. He likes his privacy. But people would be up in arms. They'd have their pitchforks. They'd have their torches. All right. They'd try to be busting down his door wherever he is. They probably couldn't even find him if they tried. But look, if Richard did this, there's a double standard for everybody else, right? Dan Larimer gets to hop from, project to project like a frog on a lily pad. Mr. Garlinghouse can dump $250 million a month, $250 million to achieve what? Your friend Sami just told us that he was reporting that, their DEX wasn't even working on Ripple. So they had to copy and paste Uniswap V2 because they tried to build a DEX for sale. Does $250 million not get you a good, decent DEX? I could probably find someone to pay $250 million to, and I could probably get a DEX out of it. Probably, right? But look, so for Mr. Richard Hart, never sold a coin. Only ever potentially bought more of his own coin. Potentially. Not proven, but it's a conspiracy that I'm more than okay with. How are you going to get mad about that? When you just got the norm and every single other crypto is to either leave, to sell it all and then leave, Mr. Lee, to sell it all as a businessman. So you've got a suit and a tie on, so it makes it okay. This guy, he's wearing a button-up shirt, so he's allowed to dump on your head. Mr. Hart wears a gray V-neck. Maybe that's why he's not allowed to. Reddit over here. Chainlink, evidence of Chainlink Sergey dumping. And there's some actual evidence of Sergey or whatever, the Chainlink team selling, 90,000 link or he only has 90,000 link left from 50 million. So some of these big Chainlink wallets, nobody quite knows who they're associated with, but founders probably have been selling a lot of Chainlink. But also, if you actually read and go into Chainlink, like I'm not angry about Chainlink. I'm not trying to call out Chainlink either. Because you read this guy, Chainlink God, and assuming that he's correct, he says that, these token movements you see are used for a number of initiatives, including subsidizing Oracle networks, paying out community grants, acquiring new technologies, hiring more devs, engineers, researchers. And that's what I would expect. So in my opinion, all right, there's a tasteful way to sell for the greater good of the project if you get more bang for your buck than you're putting in. Ideally, you want money to amplify. You want to invest money in people and have them amplify the value of your chain, tenfold and get a good deal and return on investment. So I understand that. You're allowed to buy more of your own coin. You're allowed to do whatever you want. It's just funny out here, the hypocrisy that anything Richard does is somehow bad. To certain people, not to everybody. I think a lot of people are changing their minds. A lot of people are starting to understand, what's really going on and kind of the hypocrisy and stuff. Because when they really ask themselves, why do you hate Richard? Oh, he wore a Gucci suit in the bear market and he made me feel bad because I'm poor and he's rich. Like, well, he got your attention, but it wasn't the most tasteful thing to do. Sure, that's probably the worst thing you could say in terms of, you watch a man's actual actions on chain, what he's built, what he continues to build. And you watch some of these other guys' actions. Leaves a project. Mr. Larimer, EOS, $4 billion raise. How's EOS doing? When's the last time you heard about EOS or something good that happened with EOS? Where did that $4 billion go? Where did the ETH go, bro? I don't know. Why don't you ask Mr. Larimer where the $4 billion went? So, double standard, choose your founder, choose your coin wisely. And it's never too late to leave a sinking ship. So Ripple guys, I'm sorry you guys keep getting the short end of the stick. Really, it's not too late for Ripple people to choose a better team. We welcome everybody with open arms. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, share the video. See you on the next one.